What's going on, everyone? Gilman with The Wealthy, back with our weekly Apple update video where we take a look at this past week and how Apple traded, some key support and resistance levels to look out for in the future, and based on that, what we think the future for the Apple stock could look like. So real quick, if you enjoyed these videos, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to grow, and each like and subscribe really helps me out. And then comment down below if you are in Apple or if you've traded Apple or what your thoughts on Apple are going into the future. So let me go to my computer here and let's take a look at the 5-day chart. So what we saw here, and this line is something that I sort of drew over the course of the week, but what we see here is we opened Monday in the 120s, right? That's sort of where we ended last week. We opened in the 120s, and then we kind of went downhill from there. So we had a huge sell-off on Monday, went from 120s all the way down to 115s. We tried pushing back up to the high 118s on Tuesday, came right back down. Wednesday was a lot of everything basically. So we started here 117s, pushed up, couldn't quite make it to the day before's high point, then broke below where we were in the open, and then we kind of closed relatively flat down a little bit. And then come Thursday, we had the huge drop, right? 117s all the way down to 114s. And that's when Pelosi was going to come on and talk, and potentially the stimulus being off the table. But she said what everyone kind of had assumed, that they're working on it, nothing yet. So, a little bit of a recovery there, but still an overall down day. And then Friday was, as I made the video 2 days ago, another down day. We were down 71 cents. So over the course of the week, we've gone from $120 to $115, loss of about 5% or so, a little bit less than 5%. But a lot of that was based on the uncertainty surrounding the stimulus bill, right? So one day I think a week or two ago, we had the Trump tweet saying no more stimulus until the election, stock market tanked. I made a video on that. Sometimes we'll get like hey, we're moving closer, and we'll see some optimism in the market and pushing it up, but that's what a lot of it is based off of, right? That's sort of the next catalyst we're looking for. If it gets pushed back, right, that means liquidity won't be in the market, so people might be uncertain and sell off. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'm really hoping that early this week they go, hey, we're not going to do it. That way we could sort of focus on the earnings season coming up, rather than, wonder about, is the stimulus coming? Is the stimulus not coming? Because that's not really stock market, like fundamental technical analysis, right? It's a part of your analysis, but taking a look at the stock and kind of going, here's what we need to look at. So let me take a look at the year-to-date chart just to kind of remind you guys that yes, Apple hasn't been trading well in the past few days. I'm frustrated by it. I know a lot of you guys are down in the comment section too. We're hoping for Apple to have green days again. If we take a look at the low point of the pandemic and then we take a look at the high point reached in September, Apple has more than doubled, like 1.5 times, or even more than 1.5 times what it was, right? So if you put $100 in Apple, you would have had close to $230, $240. Insane returns for a company that's $1.97 trillion, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. Apple has had a huge run. It's almost trading like a small cap, right? Like typically, if you take a look at Microsoft, which, it's got a market cap of 1.64 trillion, so not too far off, right? But pre-pandemic, it was trading in the 190s, and it's at 216 right now. So still good returns, right? But not crazy returns. Whereas Apple pre-pandemic was trading at 79, right? And now it's at 115. So just something to keep in mind, right? So 115 divided by 79, Apple's up almost 45%. And then we take a look at Microsoft, 216 divided by, let's just call it like 180. Right, 20% return. So Apple still has crazy returns, even when compared to a company like Microsoft. So now taking a look at kind of a little bit more closer, right? When I started making these videos, we were making this lower high, lower low, right? This downtrending channel we talked about for a while. Come late September, we sort of flipped that. We were making higher highs and higher lows, and then we had this like 3 or 4 or 5 day period of consolidation, and then we were talking about the iPhone event coming up, which caused us to go up, and then we saw a huge sell-off the following day after that. And then this line is sort of now what I've made the past few days, and I've made it I think like 4 or 5 days, and each day we kind of just spread it out, and it continues that pattern. And that pattern is we're making lower highs every day. So if you were to look at the highs here, right, we go to Friday, right? 116.55 was the high, 118.04, 118.71, 118.98, 120.42, 121.55. That's for the past 6 days that we've made a lower high every single day. That's definitely not good. We're looking to hopefully break that moving forward. Now, what could be support and resistance levels for the stock? So support, for those of you guys that might be a little bit new to trading, is if a stock is dropping, at what point does the stock sort of get cheap enough or attractive enough that people start buying it, right? And that's support where it could head back up. Resistance is the exact opposite of that, where if a stock is headed up, at what point do people go, okay, I think I'm going to take some profits? We see a lot of selling and the stock sort of isn't able to break through that point. Now, there are different support and resistance levels that I look at, one of which being the moving averages line, which you'll see the numbers right here. So the ones I look at on the daily chart are 20, 50, and 200. And the 20-day moving average is coming in at 116.95, and the 50-day moving average is coming in at 117.42, which makes sense, right? The moving averages are higher because the stock is trending downward, so it'll take a little bit for those lines to come downward as well. The 200-day moving average is all the way down at 89, again, to kind of show you the great run Apple has had. Now, these points are points that I like the stock to be trading at, the 20-day moving average, the 50-day moving average, and can hold up as good support, typically, if a stock is uptrending and it starts to go down. However, since we're under it and we push up, right, a lot of people can see those points as sort of points that they want to sell out at, and so that could act as a resistance. So 2 points to keep in mind, 116.95, 117, so just think of around the 117s. And then let's take a look at the EMAs, where we'll see all the EMAs here. So the ones I look at are 8, 21, 34, 55, and 89, those 5. The 8 EMA is again 116.90. The 21 EMA is 116.69, the 34 EMA is 115.86, and then the 55 EMA is all the way down here in the 113.36s. The 113 point is key point, right? Because if we scroll out here, it's held up as support, right? Let me get rid of the lines for just a sec, right? It's held up as support going back all the way to early September. And now we also have an EMA there at 113.36. So I personally think, unless we see like a huge sell-off, something with the election, something with super bad about the stimulus, something about coronavirus being super bad, I think that 113 point should typically hold up. That's the assumption I'm going off of. Again, you can go off of whatever you feel comfortable with, but moving up, we have the AEMA, which typically the AEMA, again, if a stock is going up, the AEMA is something that I want to find support at. But here we could find it to, two things. A, it recaptures it, which means it goes up to it and then sort of trades at the AEMA, or it goes up, right, hits that point, and we find that it gets rejected because a lot of people want to sell off at that point and take their profits. That's at 116, which aligns with the moving average number, and then the 21 EMA is at 116.69. So high 116s, 117 is a key point to look at. The other resistance point, right? So support down here in the 113s and the 113.36, personally speaking, and then whatever the low point is. Now, those are based on the key technicals and the lines, right? The other support and resistance point is whatever the previous low or high was. So if we were to take a look, let's say come Monday, we were to take a look, right? What we could do, since we are in a lower high trending pattern, right? Not really a pattern, but something just a trend to look at. The high of today was 116.55. So if Apple is at 115 right now, if it were to go up, I'd like it to break 116.55. As soon as it breaks 116.55, I'd like it to break 118.04. If it gets to 118.04, then 118.71, then 118.98. You guys get that drift? Like, we were not able to beat the high of the previous day, so that would be my resistance point. For us to break. Now, those are very close resistance points, but just something to look at in case, if it's going up and you're maybe trying to find a selling point, or maybe you're trying to find a point where you think it could slow down. Or maybe you're going, hey, I think if it goes through this day's high, 116.55, then it could push up towards the 118s. Just those things to keep in mind, right? And then similarly for the lows, right, what we could do is we could take a look at, you know, what were sort of points that found support before. So here I found support in the 114s, 114.28. So if we were to push down, right, we could find support at 114 before we go down to 113s, and so on and so forth. Now, from outside of the technical analysis part of it, right, what I really want to see this week is hopefully they come out and say, we got a stimulus deal done, boom, stock market pushes up in my opinion. Or they say, deal is not done, won't be done till after the election. I think the amount of weakness we've had has sort of already taken a lot of that into account. So hopefully we don't see a huge sell-off. We still could, but hopefully we don't see a huge sell-off. And then at that point, what we could focus on are the tech earnings for this week. So just this week, we have Google, we have Amazon, we have Microsoft, we have Apple, we have AMD, all these huge companies, right, talking about their earnings, which a lot of these companies were expecting to beat earnings, right? Companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, as people are at home using their technology more, right, these companies are getting a lot of business, and so we're hoping for earnings beats. Whether or not that's already priced into people's assumptions is a different story, and we'll see how that plays out this week. But the reason that I want the stimulus bill to be over with is so we can focus on these tech earnings, and hopefully the stocks can rally into that. I personally would like to see, you know, big names like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon sort of rally into earnings as we can sort of get over the stimulus hump. And then, you know, we'll kind of see how tomorrow plays out. If we see weakness tomorrow, maybe my assumption's wrong, but I think Microsoft's on Tuesday, Apple's on Thursday. So hopefully we see some sort of a run up into those. The other thing to keep in mind is the election is, I think, like 2 weeks away, maybe a week away. November 3rd, I believe, is the election, right? Yeah, that's about a little over a week away. Just something to keep in mind. I'm going to keep my position sizes small just because it's an uncertainty. If we have a blowout, great, we move on. If we have a closely contested election, maybe things get a little bad, maybe, you know, whatever happens, right? So just, I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I just like to think of stuff that could potentially impact the stock market beyond stocks itself. And then the third thing is the rising number of coronavirus cases. So I think yesterday we set a record for, I think US coronavirus, we set like a record for the number of single highest cases in a day. I read about it somewhere. Okay, second highest case of coronavirus since the pandemic began, right? So just something to keep in mind as we go. And then these are kind of the stocks I was watching about. Feel free to read this article if you'd like. Apple, AMD, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, they're all, I think, having earnings this week. So something to keep out for. Those are the stocks to watch. I'll keep you guys posted on Apple on my daily Apple update videos, and you know, what the sentiment looks like if we see more weakness or if we see a little bit of a reversal and we kind of run into earnings. So that's all I had for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below. Share with your friends if they're interested in this content as well. Hope you guys are all having a great weekend so far. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day, and until next time.